welcome. Oh, we just jumped right into it. I forgot to change the graphics. Look, you're not supposed to be here. Hold on, wait. No, wait. What's going on? Wait, get out of here. Oh, wow. Live television, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody watching, thank you. This is another episode of InfoSec Unplugged. I am your unprepared host, Davin Jackson, also known as D-Jax. Thanks for joining. It's been a crazy week. As you can see, we're still a little discombobulated on my end, but I am so glad that you are here. Again, if you haven't done so already, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend that we are live. And we are here. I am super excited to bring my guest on. I guess I was so excited I forgot to leave him backstage before I brought him on. But nonetheless, he is here. So I will introduce him shortly. I just want to get a couple show notes out for, again, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Twitch. And you can also check us out on LinkedIn. I actually don't have a graphic for that. Again, unprepared. It's been a crazy week. But just so you know, there will be no InfoSec Unplugged for next week, but we'll have one the week after. And also, I have a quick announcement. We just made it official before we went on the air. Part of the reason why I'm a little unorganized now. All year, I think you've been hearing me talk about coming up and doing a panel discussion on, what you can do to help you get, secure the bag in tech. And things you can do to, help spread that and bring in more income for you. And I finally got the panel together. I will announce the panel soon, but I would like to announce officially that Bag Talk, how to get and secure the bag in tech, has been announced for Thursday, June 9th. So it'll still be live on InfoSec Unplugged. But I think I'm going to go ahead and applaud myself for that one, because there was a lot to get that done. But June 9th, 6 p.m. Please make sure you check that out. And also shout out to previous guest, Lewis Arnold. He recommended this book, Upper Hand, The Future of Work for the Rest of Us by Sherelle Dorsey. I just got my copy today, along with a couple other books. So shout out to them. And so without further ado, now let me bring my guest in, because y'all was nosy in the beginning and had no business watching my stuff. No, I'm playing. But my guest tonight is a real honest brother, real good dude. When I think I met him early on via social media, and then we got some time to hang out last year during the Sands event. Like I said, real good brother. I look to him as someone who I truly respect and admire, and I hope you will see why when I bring him on. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my guest, the host of TrailblazersFM, none other than Stephen A. Hart. There you go. Look, see, I'm still messing up. There we go.
What up, D?
What is going on, sir?
Appreciate you having me on, man. Thank you so much.
No problem. I see. Look, shout out to Jen. I see Jen's already here in the chat.
Big ups, Jen.
Hey, Jen. Yeah, I see Zanette's here. OZ. Listen, OZ is here. Shout out to OZ. We have Jen Langford. We have my wife here. We have... It's a whole family thing here. We got Nelson Nobles. Thank you for joining. Computer Science Barbie, thank you for joining. Willie Beeman, man, you guys came out tonight, man. That is awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. So Stephen, again, thank you for joining. I know you're a busy man yourself and with a lot going on, but please give them a brief introduction as to who you are.
Sure. I always start every one of these from a place of gratitude. So before I tell you who I am or what I do, I tell you who I am. So I'm most grateful for being Kristen's husband of almost 14 years. And together we have two amazing crumb snatchers.
Hold on, we're going to applaud that.
And, I'm originally from Jamaica. So I'm a man of many jobs. But most proud of being the director of content marketing at the SANS Institute, where I've been for 3 years, coming this coming Monday, which is amazing. And beyond that, Davin just touched on it. Back in February of 2016, launched the Trailblazers.fm podcast, which is a platform going longer than 6 years now, where I have featured several hundred amazing Black leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals in every field. And that spun up into different things. So, over the course of time through Trailblazers, created over the last 4 years, created a personal branding course called Brand in Demand, which really serves the audience of the people that listen and consume my content, with building their personal brand and doing things like you just touched on, and securing the bag and building multiple streams of income. And earlier this year, I was blessed, man. I was blessed to be one of the initial 100 people selected to be part of LinkedIn's Create Accelerator program. And through that, launched kind of this expanded idea of Trailblazers.fm, which I called missionfuel.tv. Really, it's Trailblazers on steroids. So I, really looked at what we do with live streams like this, and gave thought to what it would look like if we featured Black success every weekday morning. It was exhausting, to be honest, and it's probably going to be a seasonal project, but gave it birth, and trying to figure out how we evolve from here. So a little bit about who I am and what I do.
Okay, see, I didn't want to keep doing it every time you said something. I didn't want to keep interrupting you because my mama said that was rude. But again, thank you, and congratulations on everything that you're doing. Congratulations on the 3-year anniversary with Sands. I know Jen's happy about that.
Jen's one of my BFFs. Jen and the Summit team, they're amazing. And listen, I credit Jen for introducing, creating the space for us to meet in person, and other amazing people like our mutual friends in Chris Cochran and Ron Eddings, with the Hacker Valley crew. That wouldn't happen without Jen. So big ups, Jen. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Hold on 1 second. I am running into technical difficulties again. There we go. I'm back. Yay. All right. There we go. There you go. All right. So yeah. And the funny thing is, I think so we actually met because I posted a question, I think a couple summers ago, about LinkedIn, and someone tagged you, and you actually responded with a video message on Twitter. And I was like, oh, he's serious. He went and he didn't even type it. It was like, I mean, it was within minutes. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I saw you at the Sands event last year, which was real fun. It was a real fun time. Got to even sit with you and do a stream there again. Thanks to Jen, because Jen definitely was scrambling behind the scenes to talk me into doing that. So yes, she's there. And Zanette says Jennifer is awesome, and yes, she is. Well, I can agree 100%. So now, so Stephen, so you, before we get into becoming the director of content marketing at Sands, how did you get your start?
I don't know if you have enough time for this one, Davin.
Have you seen my shows? I'm notorious for going over.
Listen, so great question. This is the part of being. I didn't come from. I'm married to a woman who's amazingly smart, and went through the ranks of going to a great college and having all the ducks in a row for her. My story is one of hustle, man. Coming from Jamaica, migrated here almost 30 years ago. Next year makes 30 years that I've been here. But, went to community college, then on to finish undergrad at USF in Tampa. And honestly, coming out of college, I had probably a dozen jobs in the first 3 years out of college. It was that kind of epic. Couldn't find my place, couldn't find what I really wanted to do. And eventually got anchored in mortgages and started a business as a side hustle, which spun up into an amazingly successful business almost, within a couple of years. And then it failed miserably in 2008, right at the point where the financial crisis happened. That also aligned to where Dav and I went from having a 6-figure wedding and promising my bride a $1 million brownstone to about 3 weeks after our marriage, the business collapsed in the summer of 2008. And we lost several $1 million. And so kind of crazy story, right? But she stuck with it, right? She stuck with me. And I rebuilt the business, got to a place where I wasn't happy. The business was moving in the right direction, but wasn't happy with the structure of a business partnership and so on, and made an exit and got back into corporate. And so, I ran a business for 7 years that went through tremendous success, tremendous failure, and then kind of leveled back out. And it never quite got back to where, it was, but I sold my stake. And by that point, we had just had our first child. And so I needed the stability. And so went back into the corporate world. And that's where I reinvented myself as a marketer. And slowly kind of moved through the chain. I worked prior to Sands, was working in the software world. And did that for about 5 years, nothing related to cybersecurity. But actually on our 10th wedding anniversary, realized that I kind of needed to make a shift. The company I was working with at the time was being sold. It was a part of a holding company and they were selling off. So started looking at what my next would look like. And one of the things that at that point in time was really important to me was making sure I was clear on what I wanted for Stephen, right? So when I said that, as a marketer, it's accomplished marketer, but there are other things like Trailblazers that at the time was 2-3 years old. And I didn't want to hide that anymore, right? I hid that in the prior job. And I was like, this is an asset to the right employer. There are parts of me that I can't just show the marketer and not show the other parts, right? And so, and this is of value to everybody watching and listening, right? Because a big part of this aspect of the journey and what landed me at Sands was saying, you know what? I'm going to package all of me and somebody's going to find value in this.
Hold on.
Hey, listen.
Proceed, sir.
Somebody's going to find value, right? And I said that, but when in practice, it wasn't pretty initially, right? Because I put Trailblazers on the resume, right? And there are a lot of recruiters, a lot of hiring managers that were like, hey, can you take this off? Yeah. I'm like, nope. It comes with me, right? And so it went, there was a good 6-7 months of me looking at what was possible and letting go of some really great opportunities that weren't a good fit. And, God has humor, right? Like my wife and I are polar opposites in every way. But she knows who she married, right? We often say, you bought that coat, right? She knows exactly what she got when she got married to me in life.
Signed up for.
She knows what she signed up for. And so she says, Stephen, there are many opportunities that came up that I was even giving thought to. And she was like, that's not you, right? Like you need to find the right person that, embraces all of the other things that you do. So then comes along Sands. and I met a couple people in Sands, including Dennis Skindret, who's now become uh, a friend, a colleague, a mentor, a sponsor, like all the boxes, right? But met Dennis and met another person who was with Sands at the time, Tanya Van Kirk, and they embraced all aspects of the other things that are brought to the table. And that's really, I've never gone through an interview quite like I went through coming into Sands. Dennis Kindred actually flew me out to Chicago to meet with him, and we literally sat down for 10 hours in a single day. And we got through that conversation, probably the first 6 hours, and he was like, interview's done. I'm happy. Let's go hang out. And I went and met his wife and hung out for a bit. And, coming in the door at Sands, man, it's been unlike anything else I've ever experienced in 20 something years of working. So, fast track to now, it's been an amazing thing, but how I got here, took me through that part of making, some tough decisions, right? To get to the place where I'm happiest right now.
That's amazing. Hold on. We're going to applaud that again. So, and I'm going to throw so before we get into the next thing, three things. One, Jen, what are we doing? Like, nah, I'm messing with you. But honestly, shout out to your wife, because it takes a strong partner to really know your strengths and your weaknesses, and it's no secret. I credit her all the time. If she's still here in the chat, babe, I love you. But I probably wouldn't have gotten into tech had it not been for her putting her foot in my ass 15, 16 years ago. And the story about trying to package the whole package. I went through something similar last year where a couple people basically threw a bag of money at me and was like, we want you, but you can either give it up or you can do it for us and we keep the intellectual property. And I was like, absolutely not. And even to the point where with the resume where I put Alpha Cybersecurity and they're like, yeah, so what do you do there? And I'm like, that's mine. And like I make it known, like that's mine.
Yeah,
that's mine. And I equate it to when how they say, like, when if you go to date a single parent or you go to get into a serious relationship or even marry a single parent, you love me and you love the child.
Yeah. And
This
that's the
is my
child.
this is my baby.
Yeah.
So if you get me, you're getting the baby.
The package deal.
But the baby is mine. Don't think for 1 second you gonna take my baby, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing to find a place that lets you be you unapologetically, authentically, and just living your truth, whether it's because for years I hid my blog, right? I hid my blog stuff. I hid my show when I first did it, because I just didn't want that conflict. And it turned from, oh, this is a possible, when I first did it turned from, this is a possible conflict, to, oh, actually, no, you're actually getting a lot of exposure. This can be great for us. And at the same time, I'm like, no, this is great for me. Right. And then towards the end of the first job, when I started the podcast, it was, well, can't you leverage some of your guests to help us with? No, that has nothing to do with anything we're doing over here.
Yeah.
So, I
but
was still
shout out too to the employers that get that, right?
Yes.
Because big ups to Sands, right? Like, I have the freedom today, and this is a message to the employers who think that we should keep this separate, right? Not seeing the benefit to them. Like, I'm on a personal conversation with you, and I'm bigging up Sans, right?
Right.
Every chance I get.
Well,
And
I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. And that's why I was messing when I said that to Jen earlier. I'm like, should have sent Steven to sell me.
100%, man. 100%.
But so just to reset the room real quick, again, this is InfoSec Unplugged. I am here with my guest Stephen A. Hart, host of TrailblazersFM and also the director of content and marketing for Sans. Again, to my pack, y'all know what it is. I love y'all. Thank you for the support. Thank you for everything you do and just for keeping it going. Whether I'm talking to one person, nobody at all, or the group, you guys have been here supporting, and I greatly appreciate it. Again, if you haven't done so already, tell a friend to tell a friend that we are live. We are on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitch. And Steven, I'm not gonna lie, I should have brought you on sooner because my the LinkedIn viewership done jumped up too.
I'm seeing Tanisha in the room. Big ups, Tanisha.
Yep, I see Tanisha. I see Jennifer Cochran. Hey Jen, and she says shout out to all the strong partners out there. Yes. Absolutely.
Another work friend, Emily Newens is another amazing Sans powerhouse on the side of our cyber defense.
So big up to all of you. I'm gonna do the applause real quick for that. And again, and shout out to. It looks like I've just been rated on Twitch. So Gar7, again, thank you for the raid party of 42. Let's get it moving. So Steven, actually, before I do that, again, everybody watching, you know the rules. You can ask me anything. You can ask my guests anything. Keep it clean and keep it respectful. Steven's really nice. I don't sometimes. So, but just again, thank you for watching, and let's keep it moving. So Steven, now you talked about the challenges of. Well, let me just get down there. So you talk about the challenges of basically, you started a business tanked, rebuilt it from the ground up, then said I didn't want to do this anymore, moved into the marketing field, started the podcast, and now you are 100% authentic yourself doing this for Sans. So you faced a lot of challenges. So I guess I will say, what other challenges have you faced or that you still face to this day?
So I could go in a number of different directions with this, right? It's been a blessing to step into Sans, and listen, in the Monday makes 3 years. In that time, I've had 3 roles, right? I've been blessed to be promoted twice in the last year, which has been, can't express how grateful I am for the timing and the opportunity. When we talk about challenges that I've faced, there's so many challenges on the marketing side, but what came to mind more so, Davin, is a personal challenge, right? And come back side by side, because I want two brothers to kind of talk through this.
All right. I'm here.
But man, 2 years ago, my dad suffered the first of 2 strokes over the last couple of years. And I was 6 months into Sans when he had the first stroke. And this was pre-COVID. This was December 2019. And man, he was back in Jamaica. And at the time, 6 months in, I have no PTO, right? Going into this time, going into the holiday. And Sans is like, yo, go home and take care of your pop. Go home. Just so happens that, Dennis was in Jamaica at the time, came and saw me at my dad's, right? And that was like something, otherworldly experience to have, like Sans family show up for you in another country, right? he didn't fly to Jamaica to see me. He was there to celebrate an event, but got in a car and, you know, came 3 hours into Kingston to come make sure I was fine with his wife. Right. Called Mark, and I was with Jen at Blue Team Summit in Louisville right before COVID hits. And I thought he was going to check out. You know, he had a bleed on his brain, and you know, Sands just rallied behind him, man, you know, through that whole bit. And so when we talk about challenges, man, I came back from Jamaica after Dad's first stroke, and talking back about wives and having strong partners. I came back from Jamaica, and the very first thing Kristen, my wife, said to me is, he got 2 appointments for you. One to go talk to your primary, another to go talk to somebody. Wow. And I was like, talk to somebody? She's like, yeah. I'm like, you know, wrong with me? I'm fine. She's like, Steven, go talk to somebody. Right? It's covered by insurance. You don't need it. All's good. Davin, that kept me alive. Right? That kept me alive. And even talking about it still right now chokes me up, right? Because as Black men, right? And especially being a Jamaican man who, you know, growing up in Jamaica, you know, if you had a mental health issue, something was wrong with you, right? Like you needed to go to a place. So you always, you know, I realized me saying that to Kristen was dismissing that because somebody is going to say something's wrong with me, right? And man, the best thing I ever did was go to therapy, you know, and it was completely counter to what I always perceived therapy being. And so, you know, that was the challenge that I had to face, man, and still facing, because I do even pop a pill for a headache. And yet for 2 years, actually beginning of April was where I finally got myself off depression and anxiety meds that I was on for the last 2 years. People like Jennifer and Emily and all the Sands people that I worked around, other family, is who like literally supported me, propped me up, helped me get through a very long season, right? That was the first time I had to stop Trailblazers. I went as an indie podcaster, you can appreciate when I say I went 205 consecutive Monday mornings publishing an episode at 5 a.m. That takes a lot, you know, as a side hustle to show up week in and week out for 205 consecutive weeks. Right. I prided myself on that. And when Dad had a stroke, my editor was like, yo, because I was just about to batch. Right. And then he had a stroke and I killed the whole batch and I had nothing. I had no content up and I was empty. And I was like, you know what? Let's just take a break. And I thought that break was for a few weeks. And then COVID hits. And then my wife gets furloughed. And then the kids land home from school for a whole year, right? And I'm on the couch, you know, practically useless. And I had to figure out, man, you know, what was going on. And to fast track through some of this, one of the things that I did back in 2016, man, was when I created a podcast, I sat down and I did an exercise, which I now call writing your 10 in 10, right? And your 10 big, hairy, audacious goals, right? Your BHAGs. Right now, the 10 big things that you really want to get accomplished over the next 10 years, right? So some of those things on the list for me looked like, you know, speaking in front of 10,000 people. And writing, you know, my first book. And at the time when I wrote that list, I was 3 months into podcasting. And I was thinking, interviewing 1,000 people and reaching millions, you know, writing the big things that I couldn't see how they're going to be possible. And at the time, man, like even doing something like this would freak me out, right? I was in a shell for many years, not speaking publicly, and I started working through a lot of that over the years. But when everything fell apart and this challenge that I faced and still face today hit, it was having those 10 and 10. It was having that BHAG when I'm on the couch watching Netflix, eating ice cream in Masaros, and looking at, you know, what was my North Star, right? In these 10 big goals, and saying, yo, is this still the direction we want to go in? Right? Is this still where we're trying to move? And not just goals for goals, but those goals meant I would be impacting, right? Like my 10-year, my mission is to impact 10,000 heart-centered Black leaders and entrepreneurs in that time through June 26, 2026, right? From when I did that in 2016. And it was that helped me to kind of say, you know what? Yeah, it's still where I'm trying to get to, right? So this challenge that I'm facing and I face, I liken it to the detour when I'm driving from where I am to where you are, and Google Maps says, yo, we have an accident. So what you want to do? Right? You have another path that you can take to get to your destination, but it's going to add 2 hours to the journey. Right? When we are faced and met with obstacles in the path, like I was, this big challenge, it stopped the podcast, man, but it didn't stop me from getting to the goal, right? And I had to shift. I haven't published like I published, to the podcast since, but I shifted to doing live streams like this, still achieving the goal, right?
Right.
And so I said that to say, more than just sharing the challenges, man, what got me through the challenges is having clarity, right? Is getting very clear about what it is that I'm trying to accomplish for me. I've shared how much I love SANS, but I'm on this earth for a very limited time. We are, right? Unfortunately, I'm attending 2 funerals in the next 5 days, right? Hopping on a flight in the morning to attend a funeral for, family. And next Tuesday, attending another funeral for another colleague of my wife's, right? And it brings me, appreciate that. It brings me to, like times like this, there is a sense of, reflection, right? Where I was sharing with you offline.
Yeah.
Funeral next week is a brother who's in his 50s, man, left the earth way too soon, right? And it brings to mind, man, our time here is short, it's brief. We have to make sure that it like legacy in the play Hamilton, right? There's a definition in Hamilton that says your legacy are the seeds you plant in a garden you likely will never see. Right?
Yeah.
And it's about, what seeds am I planting, right? That I might never see. Trailblazers is a seed I planted that is just continuing to plant other, providing shade at this point for other trees to rise up, right? And but I talked to you about the crumb snatchers, man, and I want to be here for them for the long haul. And so wrapping this with a bow, man, for the brothers and sisters watching this, who are going through challenges right now. Mental health is real, man. And us taking care of the internal is so much more important than chasing after all the other things, right? Like we can't chase after the career and the material or any of it if we're not right within, right? So
it's no use. It's no good if you can't if you're not there to actually enjoy it.
Really aren't,
Yeah,
and I want to be here for my wife and my
yeah,
kids and for my community for a lot longer, enough years to come, right? So,
right.
call to action, man. If you're out there and you're in a dark place, do me a favor, seek the help that you need to be in the right place so that you can show up. And that's my heart, right? Like, therapy has been amazing, man. And to this, I'm in a better place today than I was then, thank God.
Yeah.
Um, but I still have that call every couple of weeks, right? And because of it, I don't need the meds anymore,
Mm.
right? Because of it, I've learned the tools I need to cope through the anxiety and the challenges that come. So I was able
And,
to say, hey, you know what? We can wean off of the meds because
mhm,
now I have the tools.
right. And I think even better because I'm an advocate too, and back to what you were saying, in the community at first it was, I mean, it's only now becoming okay, right? And years ago, like you said, it was ain't nothing wrong with you, just whatever. And as men, it's the same thing. Like, nah, I'm fine. And again, shout out to my wife as well, who kind of pushed it because I would go, but I wasn't invested, right? So I would go because I just felt like it was just satisfying, whatever or whatever. And then it wasn't until the last few years where I'm like, all right, I'm really gonna give it, give it a shot. And not only does it help you cope, it also helps you see when something like this is coming,
Mm,
right? Because before, especially with the anxiety, I wouldn't know what triggered it. I wouldn't know.
mm,
I would just end up going through it, and now I'm like, okay, no, I feel like something's off. I feel, no, it ain't right. Something's not right.
mhm,
So yes, I'm in 100% agreement with you. Yes, if you feel like something's off or you need to talk to somebody, please take that time and do it. And again, and be transparent with it. That was the hard part. Is it's one thing to do it, but then to actually advocate for it openly and publicly. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being a voice, for that, because it matters. It matters, and it might help someone else say, you know what, yeah, let me go do it, and now let me be okay with it. I think if more of us do that,
yeah,
that stigma will go away,
that's one of my
because
missions, Virgin.
because that's a generational trauma, man.
Yeah,
Your parents, like you said, I grew up in a Jamaican household too, where
yeah,
for years it was nothing's wrong
no,
with you, or
yeah,
it was just like frowned upon, and now like my mother's receptive to it. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
My father, rest in peace. He wasn't around for me to actually start going through the transition, but the rest of my family was
mhm,
able to see it and see the changes. Because especially when I came home from the military, man, I was broken. I'd gone through
mm,
so much before the military, and then dealt with a lot of crap in the military, and then came
mhm,
home and was just lost. and
mm,
and it took a lot of fighting. It took a lot of help. It took, like I said, my family. It took my wife upstairs. And I always say my children made different shifts in me. Like my
mm,
wife showed me there was something to live for.
mhm,
My daughter, the birth of my daughter, gave me the ambition to actually do more than just live and just be in the moment. It actually gave me, like, saved me.
mhm,
And my son made me the man who I am, because
mm,
I'm raising the next Jackson man in this
mhm,
household. And what example do I leave for him? So I
yes,
had to put away, I mean, I still go through it. I had to fight with a lot of the anger and all of that, because I don't want that for him. So,
mm,
breaking that generational curse that break the wheel.
Right,
So
the cycle. Yeah.
right, so and I remember saying, I remember at one point saying, it ends with me.
Yeah.
Right, it as
Yeah.
far as that cycle, that cycle of all the negativity, it ends with me, and I'm not perfect. I still have my ways. I can
Oh,
still
we're human, man. Probably.
so
Yeah.
but thank you for sharing that. And again, I know the people in the chat are the comments are going, so if you can see them, they appreciate it as well.
Yeah.
So I guess so we went ahead, you talked about Trailblazers, you talked about how that came to be, and now like I said, we talked about the content marketing at Sands. So what is a day in the life as the content director, or the director of content marketing, and
Look like.
what is something, what does that day look like, and what is something that excites you about that job?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So we're going through a marketing reorg right now, and so we're bringing Sands up to a more modern marketing structure, and so a day in the life of a content marketer for me right now is intense, and it's all encompassing. We're working right now on setting in place a lot of processes and best practices and systems to really be able to move, while at the same time doing a better job of giving thought to who we're communicating with as far as our audiences. With Sands, we serve so many different people in so many different verticals. Um, so, getting really clear about who it is we're speaking to, and most importantly, what the value is that we can deliver, right, to them. And so, thinking of my daily is looking at, because Sands doesn't have a content problem, right? We have so many amazing instructors and authors, um, and people creating such rich content, but it's really understanding, what kind of content we need to create, right? You know, how it's best serving our intended strategy, and instead of at least my hope is that we start to move away from um the where sometimes we get caught up talking about our product,
Mm,
um leaning more to, again, the value to the consumer, right, the student, um really starting to understand more and more about what the student, what the organization is challenged by, and what they need, right? To be able to cover that risk, and speaking to that through our content, right? So I'm doing a lot, man. Right now in the restructure, I'm working through a massive, audit of all the content that lives out there. Thinking through how we develop, what mediums of content, right, what types of content we want to lean into now, where we can actually reach the people we want to reach, and then how we maintain it going forward, right? What gets retired, what gets maintained, what gets repurposed. So it's this massive undertaking with very minimal human resource. So it's a big challenge, which I embrace. I'm excited. What excites me is I'm an entrepreneur at the core, right? So I have a massive challenge on my hands to think through not just how we transact today, but where we're going in 5, right? And where we want to grow Sands. I have a really interesting play in that overall vision, to help us get there, and to bring more awareness, more engagement, more students to the organization. So it's a blessing, man. I'm grateful every day I get the opportunity, right, to be able to um, think through the moves that we make, and we're playing chess, not checkers, right? So um, it's fun times.
Yes, absolutely. And Tanisha by now, so
Yeah.
she asked the question, said, so Steven, when are y'all getting some more black instructors? Asking for Davin and me.
you know that is something in a different light than my present role. Jennifer and I actually are part of Sans's diversity task force, which you know got spun up in the season of George Floyd. Was the catalyst for that. But man, am I ever grateful to see kind of where Sans is moving forward. We're not where we want to be by a long shot, but um, we've identified the areas that we need to improve on. Right, our instructor core is one of those, and we're doing work now. Um, that takes time and work. And I want to see people like Tanisha and you in those classrooms, not just as students, but as instructors, and hopefully at a future point as authors, right? So it's definitely something. I see Jen here in the comments saying we're trying, and we absolutely are, right? On the diversity side, we're doing a lot of good work, and it's a conversation Jen and I and several of us have every day. Is we don't want to check the box. It's not about checking the box for diversity's sake, right? Like, it's changing the culture here and within the industry as a whole. So it's work, but man, am I ever happy to see some of the big things that are changing, right? Realize to get more instructors in, we have to work on the pipeline, right? To get more people in. And in the last couple of years, we've spun up, and even since the task force has been created, we spun up an HBCU academy, through which we have had a ton of people, getting access to scholarships to do SANS courses and certs, and we're getting those people right in the door. We've been doing we're bringing people in, man. But it takes work to kind of get that pipeline and get to the quality of people like yourself and Tanisha, right? And then getting you into the instructor dev. And instructor dev at SANS is is work in and of itself. It's a process. SANS is really particular, as you can imagine, about who we have authoring and instructing those courses. So but yeah, we've been talking about it behind the scenes. It's gonna be something that we work on for sure. And I can't wait. When I came into SANS, I was the cyber defense curriculum marketer, and it's one thing to talk about seeing diversity in the instructors. There's also another thing to just see diversity, period, right? Like in the halls, in the classrooms, right? Cybersecurity as a whole is 95% all white men, right? Or white men. I'm gonna call it what it is, right? That's not a SANS thing. That's a cybersecurity thing, right? That's a tech thing. So it's bigger than SANS, but when I walk those halls, man, if I see a brother, it's one thing. If I see somebody like Tanisha, a black woman, walking the halls, it's almost like I can geek, right? Like I'm excited. So it's our heart and our mission to get to a place where we see more diversity. Big up to Jennifer today. We're talking about diversity, and we kind of we're referring to color, but let me just pause for a minute and big up Jennifer for hosting, being part of SANS's first neurodiversity summit today.
Hold on. I was gonna do that for Jen after this, but yes, absolutely.
I don't know if anybody here caught that, but we had our first summit earlier today, um, speaking to neurodivergent professionals, right? And just, a space for uh it's so important. I'm raising a son who has ADHD, right? And I'm learning every day through this journey what that involves and what that entails. Right now, in fact, while I'm talking to you, my wife has him at an OT appointment, right? So we're going through this journey, and it's interesting today to kind of absorb, you know, listening to people talk about um, what that entails in the work world, right? And us opening up and being more thoughtful about creating a space that is equitable, not just for people like us, right? But
Yeah.
for
Just
people of all shades and types, right? So
and that's the important part, that it doesn't just stop with just one. We have to make sure that there's representation for all. And I think, again, that's one thing I will definitely give credit to you and Jen and the crew, and the few people that I've talked to at Sands, is that because, and I think I've said this to Jen already. You have people who say all the right things, right?
mhm,
They say all the right things, and they say they want to do all the right things, but when it comes time to act,
mhm,
there's always a well, just wait. I
mhm,
mean, we see it everywhere, but you are intentional with it, Jen. We talked offline, like the moment you say something and Jen get a whiff of it, she's on it.
mhm.
Right? So but and then we have people like, we have Tanisha here, who's
I mean,
unapologetic and tells you straight up, like, hey,
yeah,
this is the plan for world domination.
yeah.
So that's definitely commendable. I definitely commend what's going on there, because you know even if it's sometimes, people get busy and lost in the shuffle of things, but there's always a circle back, like, hey, I ain't forget.
Yeah.
Where others, like I said, they say it because it's trendy. um and before we go into it, let me just catch up in the chat real quick. So my wife says that you have a great wife, and that she applauds her and you for following through and going. So, and then Chris Cochran,
My
another
brother.
big brother, mentor of mine, gave him and Ron gave me the opportunity to host Hacker Valley Blue.
Yeah.
So shout out to them. He
Big
says
ups
love.
to Chris for Simone Biles yesterday, man.
Yes, I saw. Yeah, I sent them a message, like, wow, you know what,
I'm
and
still geeking on that.
seeing what they're doing, seeing the stuff that you're doing, and bringing all these prominent people to the light that probably you probably wouldn't have seen before. It gives someone like me, who I guess is still fairly new to all of this, something to strive for, right?
Mm,
Because yeah, you hear that, oh yeah, there's money in podcasting, and you can do this and you can do that. But to see what you can do with a mic, camera, and
mm,
your voice,
yeah.
you're speaking to powerful people, right?
Yeah.
Chris and Ron are speaking to Olympic gold medalists and thought leaders, and they're having debates about artificial intelligence and things, right? And to kind of be a fly on the wall and just observe all of this is like, this is why this this is what where I need to be, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, whenever I be like, man, what more do I need to do with this show?
Mhm.
I look to you, I look to Chris and Ron, I look to Jack Rysider with Darknet Diaries. I look at so many different podcasts and content, and going, okay, because everybody's doing some great stuff. So again,
Mhm.
just I wanted to give the flowers there for that. Where are we, man? The chat is popping. Oh, Zanette says lots of she says lots of exciting things happening at Sands Institute. Super grateful for all the speaking opportunities. Yeah, Zanette's another one.
Yeah.
Like if y'all don't have her on
Yeah.
y'all radar,
Yeah.
she's another one. And
And
then
I
she
said
also,
Delisha Hodo in the comments too, man. And big up
yes,
Delisha is our backbone of our DI task force, our own, our HBCU initiative. I can't
yeah.
speak enough to the work she's doing. So much love.
No, absolutely. Like I said, I got to speak on that panel at the last summit. So
Yeah.
yes, shout out to Delisha. Actually, I'm connecting with you on LinkedIn right now. So,
Good.
so all right, so here we go. So back to what we were talking about earlier, just a second ago, about building off of this content and seeing where it could take you. What are some tips that you can give to kind of help people as far as creating content? Because I tell people all the time, start a blog, go on Medium, do a Twitter thread, but do a few things, even if you're just starting out. And I say that because in the time that we live now, I feel like that's something you can add to your resume, right?
Mm-hmm.
Check out my blog, so now they can see, your communication skills and your writing. And a lot of people still feel like, creating content's not for them, or it's not going to be helpful. Now, you literally have created content to the point where now you have a role that surrounded around content. Chris and Ron,
Yeah.
same thing with that, them
Yeah.
over at Exonius with the
Excellent.
content. How does how can creating content help you in your career, in your tech career?
That's a great question, man. Here's what I would tell anybody listening. I think sometimes when you think of, I don't have any ideas for what to create, it comes back to the foundation, right? There's a Spanish astrologer, Andres Zuzunaga, who created a purpose Venn diagram. You probably can look it up if you Google searched a purpose Venn diagram, but it really says that, look, our purpose lives at the intersection of what we are skilled at, what we love doing. Now, I love to sing. I'm not skilled at it. So, what you love doing, what you're skilled at, what the world needs, right? Or what your community needs, or what your employer needs, and what you can get paid for. So if you think of a Venn diagram, and you think of, okay, at the heart of this, right, lives some of the things that I can really pursue, right? Give thought to that, and along that line, to inventory the things right? So I know content marketing. I also know podcasting. I know live streaming. There are things that I'm really good at doing, and to Davin's point, I did it so well that I was able to land earned income in my opportunity with Sands as a result of it. Right, it was the separator, in addition to me being a marketer, that helped me stand out from the crowd. So start there, right? Before we just pull, rabbit out the hat, like start there. Really understand again, what I talked about earlier. Understand the long-term, vision for your life, separate than the employer. Understand what is at the core of, what drives you, right? What gives your life meaning and purpose. Understand that. When you understand that, right, now you can start to say, all right, you know what? I can actually speak to this. I'm willing to bet you're going to have more clarity, right, around where you're trying to go and what what you love doing, right? If you're inventorying the things you're skilled at, it now allows you to say, you know what? And here's the thing. A lot of times we discount the things we know, right?
Mm-hmm.
I discount the fact that I now know StreamYard Like the back of, I could walk you through StreamYard with my eyes closed right now. And there's somebody coming behind me that wants to do a live stream and is terrified. They don't know that platform. But if I really wanted to, I could create a Bible of like tutorials
That's
on
content.
just StreamYard. That's
Mhm.
even better than StreamYard would create, right? Like I get on call with StreamYard tomorrow. I can tell them the things that, don't work in their platform because I'm using it in a way they don't, right? So, and I'm a marketer, right? I'm a content creator.
Mhm.
So that's what I know. That's my skill. That's my inventory. What is your inventory in the world of tech?
Right.
What do you know that you've now discounted because you use it every day, you dismiss it, that like there aren't, and even it's not just the things that and you're an expert level at. What are some of the things you're trying to figure out that you're not yet great at
Yes.
that you could speak to, right? And share content and say, hey, this is where I'm at. I'm out of 4, uh, you know, in terms of where I am at with this particular tech or around this particular topic. And this is what I know. What do you know? Share your thoughts.
Mhm.
I've seen that actually jump off, right? Like I've seen other creators that say, hey, you know what, entrepreneurs, what's your advice around this particular topic? And you can see a thread go wild with
Mhm.
advice, right? So sometimes it's not, you don't have to create because you're the expert at the topic. You can invite dialogue around a topic, leveraging content, right?
Yeah.
Polls on LinkedIn, polls are one of the best types of content you can create, right? They can, I literally watched creators as part of my LinkedIn creator program. Other members of my cohort leverage polls every week and stay in front of tons of people. So
Mhm.
giving thought to content, man, take 2 steps back, look at what you know and you love, right? Because the love part is going to come through in your content. If you don't have to do video, but the fact that I'm passionate about doing video, it
Yes.
comes across when I jump into a live stream like this, right?
I think the passion and the love you have for whatever content you're creating shows when it's genuine.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important part. You don't get caught up in, and I see Studio Sec asked a question about how to stay encouraged when in the days where the growth may be slow. And we're going to get to the other questions, but I think remembering, that you were doing it when no one was watching
Mm.
is important, right?
Woo.
Don't worry about how many viewers you're going to have, because that fluctuates, that comes and goes. Remembering why you're doing it and remembering the passion. Like for me, I didn't write, I wrote the blog when I started my blog stuff. I wrote the blog because I wasn't looking for any affiliate marketing. I wasn't looking for anything. Like if that comes, that's great. Or if I get it, that's great. But the reason why I did it was because I remembered being that new person in cybersecurity, going on LinkedIn, going on social media and asking different people for their assistance, for their help, for their feedback on things I could do to help further my career, and
Yes.
not getting a single response, getting
Yes.
crickets and
Yes.
going,
Uh-huh.
right? And then when I got to a point in my career and I started noticing people were asking me questions, and shout out to Marcus J. Carey, because I say that was
Yeah.
always like an aha moment for me. When Marcus J. Carey came to me and says, well, maybe it's because they wanted to see what you were going to do.
Mm.
Right. And I said, all right, but they could have said that. Right. And then I really got to thinking about it. Like maybe I was thinking about this all wrong. And I'm like, well, the reason why the reason I approached them was because they're great at what they do. But if they're great at what they do, they're probably busy being great at what they do.
Mm.
So maybe I should have given them a little bit more grace. I mean, but they still could have said, "Hey, I just don't got the bandwidth." I think Jason E. Street is the only person who said, "Hey, man, I just can't help you right now, but I'll be watching."
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to him. But when I got to a point where I guess I was okay, because I don't consider myself to be a great pen tester or anything like that. But when I got to be okay, and people started to reach out to me, I remembered going, I can't answer all of them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do things like live streams and have like, any Q&A stuff. But then I created blog posts around some of the things that I struggled with, or a lot of the questions that I kept getting, a lot of the same questions that I kept getting. So how to create a virtual lab, what is pen testing? What's the difference between pen testing and vulnerability assessments? How to keep yourself safe online. And I created evergreen content. So now if anybody comes to me and says, hey,
yep,
we'll check it out here. And if you have any questions from there, then maybe I can help you with that. So when I'm typing stuff, when I'm writing my blog post, I don't even look at the analytics of, how many people hit my page today, because it doesn't matter. They're going to find it when they need it. So that's what I think, that's what you need to do when it comes from a place of being genuine. It doesn't matter those slow days, right? Because you're gonna hit
days or months or weeks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm almost 2 years in, and I'm just starting to get engagement on Twitch, right? But for weeks I would look over at my numbers and go, okay, YouTube's doing okay, but Twitch is one person watching on Twitch, and that one person is me.
I will add to that. I will raise you. I hear you. Studio Sec, listen, in the first 2 years of podcasting, the numbers went up ever so slowly, and then check it. It started to go down month over month over month. Like, I'm talking about maybe from about a year and a half to like the 2 year mark. It literally was going down month after month. And I'm like, dang, like, should I just stop? But it comes back to the same BHAGs, right? And having clarity on where and why you're doing what you're doing, right? Where you're trying to get to go and why. Where you're trying to get to and why. I continued 2 years. 2 year mark, guess what happened? Apple Podcasts put me on the homepage banner for Black History Month. And the thing explodes. Right? The thing literally freaking exploded. Like, I had 10x the numbers almost immediately. It leveled off to multiples more, right? And all the things started to unfold from that point forward, right? So to your point, if you're doing it for the money, just go ahead and stop doing it. Right? Like, initially, when you're creating content at the beginning, right, it ain't gonna be pretty, right? You're gonna have not just days, you're gonna have months of creating content, right? Where you need to continually seek after who's listening and what the value is, right? So Davin talking about answering those questions, right? Understanding who you're serving. I get every time I access podcasting is funny. At least here we can kind of see engagement in real time, right? But with a podcast, I would engage, right? When somebody commented on a social post, I'd get them in the DMs. I'd get them on a phone call. I'd be like, yo, who are you? I try to, as a marketer, I'm figuring out all the demographic and psychographic details of who my avatar is, right? Really at the core, who you are, right? And what's keeping you up at night, and why do you come back listening again and again? What are you searching for? And that would help me to understand, you know what, Davin's listening to my podcast and he's looking for this type of content because he's trying to create InfoSec Unplugged. And so I would start creating content, right? I'm an interviewer and I'd be interviewing somebody and they're touching on a topic, and I'm like, hold up. You could speak to Davin's problem right now.
There you go.
And so I step out the seat of Steven and I step into, the role of solving Davin's problem as best I can in that interview. And guess what happens? By way of doing that, I'm solving so many other problems for other listeners.
Yeah. And now you're going to get that repeat viewership because now they're, and that's the genuine aspect of it, right? Because if you're just doing it for a monetary or a selfish purpose, you're not going to think to do that, right? Like if this was anything other than what it is, I wouldn't even have the chat going. I wouldn't be scrambling amongst different places to make sure that I'm catching everything that I'm doing. I'm just saying, here's what it is, So yeah, you have to have that. You have to have that mindset that it's gonna come, and if it doesn't come, just keep going. It's rough. It's rough.
You're doing good work, man.
Yeah,
you're doing good work, Bridget.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, you keep creating. Keep creating content, right? Because you know what? When I stopped the podcast in January 2020, you know how many people have downloaded the podcast since then? How many tens of thousands of people continue to download the podcast? If I did nothing else for the rest of my life, right? Trailblazers will serve people long after I'm gone.
And that's it right there. Like for me, when I called it going off of the grid, when I basically disappeared for a few months last year, and I didn't think it mattered, right? Because my numbers weren't anything. So I was like, whatever. But then I started getting messages like, hey, I want to tune in on Thursday and I didn't see you. Hey, this has been 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, what's going on? And then I snuck in a Twitter space, and it had to be like 100 people in a Twitter space. But everybody who spoke, like the moment someone realized I was there, it was like, yo, Davin, what's going on? When are you coming back? And then every speaker after that was like, yes, and I agree 100%. And yeah, Tanisha says it, and we pressed you weekly. No, it was it like that's why, like when I so when I announced I was coming back, and it wasn't even that I announced it, I did something for the Share the Mic and Cyber to kind of help them and well, not help them, but just spread more light to the event, because I just think it's an amazing thing that they do.
Big ups, Camille.
And when I did that, it was like, it felt good. And I literally said, I'm back, but I didn't come back for like another month. But what I did, I created a trailer, and it was literally all the messages that I got. Wow. And then it was like, okay, I heard you, I'm coming, right? But to me, that's when it was like, okay, that's what it was. That's what it is. And that's why I'm so appreciative to my pack, because they definitely, they brought it back. Like, it was like, even my wife was like,
when you going back on?
You plan on going back on the air? Like, you plan on doing it? So it was, it was a lot of pressure, but and then look, here goes Ty.
Yeah,
you run
I love it.
I will find you.
I have a set of skills that make finding you easy.
But but that's love, man. And like I said, I appreciate it. So all right, we're gonna get into it, and I do see some of the questions. I'm gonna get to it. I see Jason Quick asked a couple. So Jason, just hold tight. And I'm gonna get to that. So Steven, what are your you talked about your goals for the 10-year plan, but what are your goals for the rest of 2022?
Goals for 22. So, man, on the work front, it's simple. it's simply said. Again, I'm creating an entirely new structure. So right now it's identifying all the content that lives out there, on the SAN side, right? Identifying all the content that we've created over the last 2-3 years, inventorying that, and getting really intentional about how you create high quality content. So I see Jennifer talking about build your avatar, create high quality content based on said avatar, be authentic, consistent, and the numbers will come. A lot
Hold
of it
on.
is right there, right? A lot of it
Yep.
is right there. So our product marketing team will do a lot of the work around developing who that avatar is that we're serving, but it's on my team to really work on creating that content, writing that copy, creating the videos, creating the podcasts, and there are probably 36 different content types that we create content for. So it's not just what we're thinking of. There's case studies and there's white papers and all kinds of copy for everything from websites to emails to all of the things, right? Print related material. So the goal is to get really clear about what's out there, and to get really strategic about how we kind of step forward with serving up that content, with the intention to help more people into SANS training, right? Beyond that, and the mission is to get healthy, right, and to get back to balanced. It's a daily fight to get upstairs at a reasonable hour and hop on the Peloton and to eat right, and not too late, and to spend time with the kids and to do all the other things, right? Work is great, but there's a life to live beyond it. So the goal is to and balance is hard, right? It's easy to say, it's harder to do, right? The days are long and the years are short. So the goal is just to try and be present for the wife and the kids.
Yeah, that I agree. That's a struggle of mine too, man. Like I lock down and I'm like, because on one hand it's you're doing it for them, right? All of this is for them. All of this is, like you said, about building a legacy and generational wealth and passing things down. So you do it for them, and then you're torn because while doing it for them, you're not present, like you're working on your content, or you're working at your job, or you're working on your craft to build this thing, but it's the it's costing other things, right?
Yeah.
So
And that's why it's so important, right? To make sure you have that holistic view, because if a lot of us, we have our head down and we're looking at the material, right? Like, how can we get the coins, and how can we get the bigger house and the better that and this and then unfortunately some of us don't take care of the physical and the mental that we were talking about earlier. And we check out early, and then we're not there.
Now
We're
you're
not
screwed.
present over the long term. And one of my best friends said it to me a couple months ago, and it took me a minute to digest what he said, but he said it simply. He said, "Yo, you have 2 weddings to attend." And I was like, and I processed, right? Davin, you have 2 weddings to attend.
Yeah.
Right? If we check out too early, we ain't gonna be there for the kids. You're not gonna be there for your daughter and your son.
Yeah.
Right.
And see, and it hit different for me because I think back, and I'm like, my 10-year anniversary is coming up, but I think back to my wedding, and I remember my reception, and there was a candle off to the corner, and that was there was 2 candles off to the corner, and that was to represent my father and my brother. So when you just said that, it was just like,
it hit.
I don't want to be a candle. So yeah, that's yeah. So all right, man, that's crazy. All right, so the goals, so definitely need to work on that balance. We might have to have a workshop or a working session on that, man.
Most
that's important. And then final question, if you haven't seen the show yet, I asked this to all my guests: what is your why? And I think you've talked about it a couple times, but
My
Speak
why
to it.
is, yeah, man, my why is I started the episode talking about my why, and I'll end it talking about my why. My why is Kristen Hart. Marriage that is almost 14 years, and the blessing of the two crumb snatchers, one that turns 12 in 2 weeks, and the other that turns 8 in the summer. Right.
Mm.
So those three people are my why. And will remain that way for the rest of my life, man. So everything
Absolutely.
begins and ends right there. That's the legacy.
That's it. And that's all. And the crazy thing is sometimes that's all it needs to be, man. Like it's
Yeah.
a lot of people. You have a lot of people who come on. It's like because I want to do this, and no, it's literally that simple, man.
Yeah.
So all right. So ladies and gentlemen, everybody watching, thank you. This has been Stephen A. Hart. Hold on. Throw that last one in there. So, all right. So again, just tell the people how to find you.
Simple. I'm at Stephen A. Hart on the socials. I'm most active on Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm on the gram, but that's you follow me on the gram, you're gonna follow my journey as a dad, right? That's kind of where I'm archiving that walk.
Yeah.
But day to day, I'm always chatting on Twitter or on LinkedIn, and then my website stephenahart.com.
Oh, see, there you go. Kept it simple.
Yep. I'm a branding guy, man. Gotta keep it easy for you.
There you go. All right, so let's see. So we're gonna get into a couple questions, and then I'm gonna let you go. So let's
Sounds
see.
good.
We'll start with Jason because I don't want to miss out on his question. So we see we have Zanette. Okay. So the first question was, what is the best advice you can give for someone transitioning into the field and aspiring to become successful?
Yeah.
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, coming back to it, man. Getting clear, right, on what you bring to the table. Like I talked about earlier, when I was coming into the space, I'm in a marketing org that is 60 people deep. And me standing on the strength of being a podcaster and a creator is what separates me at Sands, right? And it's in many ways led to me being able to see promotions in the last year, and to be in a seat that I'm in right now. So what's the advice as you transition into the field? Don't, while you're working to gather the skills and the certification to be able to be successful, don't dismiss what got you here, right? Your journey is unique to you. So don't discount that. Don't leave that, to the side, right? Like I've seen so many people come into cybersecurity from, driving a truck or doing, all kinds of odd things, right? Different jobs that had nothing to do with tech. Embrace that. All right. Embrace where you're coming from and make sure that you position yourself as such, right? Because that's going to help you to stand out from the crowd in what you do.
Yep, I agree 100%. And then I'll say, again, the first question. So the first question that I usually ask my mentees is the last question I just asked you is why.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's not that I don't accept it because those are good reasons. But if you come to me and say because I hear there's a lot of money in cybersecurity, or because I think it's cool, I'm gonna go. Those are good, but you're gonna need something else because there's gonna be those nights or there's gonna be those times where it's like money ain't worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find something that's going to be able to drive you to do that work
Absolutely.
because just like building a brand and just like rebuilding it can get lonely.
Yeah.
That's a
100%.
part that's the part that a lot of people don't talk about. When you're trying to build yourself up and build this brand, you're sacrificing time away from loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also usually venturing out on something that a lot of people aren't familiar with. Like when I jumped into tech, no, I don't have family or friends that I can go, hey, I'm stuck on this. Could you help me with this? Right. I'm the flag bearer. I'm the one that's going out there. And in doing that, again, I'm sacrificing time away. So while my friends are out partying or my family's doing stuff, I'm down here studying or I'm working on stuff. And it gets to be lonely. It gets to be frustrating when you start to see, especially in the beginning, just like podcasting, when you're seeing certain people or you see other people ahead of you.
Yeah.
And you're stuck in one spot and you're like, it's frustrating. It's like you want to give up because like this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
You got to stick with it. So hearing that the money's potentially good or hearing that the jobs are cool, that's fine, but that's not going to keep you going when
100%.
the numbers ain't right. So, so that's what I would say, remember why you're doing it, what you're getting into. And even if you, and for you to get to the point where you want to transition, you belong here. You've done enough to make that transition. Don't let that imposter syndrome sink in and bother you. You will get hit by imposter syndrome. It will happen. It will happen a lot. But just remember, you deserve to be here and you earned your stripes just like everybody else. And don't compare yourself. Don't compare yourself to people who are 10, 15, 20 years ahead of you. Right? Because then you'll never be satisfied. And it's unrealistic. So just those two things for me is what I would say. And then let's see, then we have Studio Sex question about the engagement. We talked about that. Hold on, there was a lot more comments. Yeah, they said if podcasting, if there was a lot of money and it was easy, everybody would be doing it. No, that's the truth. That is the truth. And even if you are, video podcasting, LinkedIn and not LinkedIn, YouTube and Twitch, they take half of it off front. So, so even when I'm like, yay, I did good, it's like, oh wait, cut that in half, and then you still have it, and then Uncle Sam still wants their part.
Yeah, he wants his piece too.
Let's see. I think that was it. So if there's any other questions while I am searching, while I'm searching, I see, like I said, I saw Jen Cochran's comment about building the avatar and creating a brand. I want to take a moment because as all of you know, I have been the host for Hacker Valley Blue this past season, and it has been a great season, and we wrapped last week or the week before. And I just want to give a special shout out to Chris and Ron, because those are the people that you see, sitting down and doing the interviews, and who I saw at first, but having them bring me into the fold and bring me into the family, I got to meet some amazing people and the team that they have. So shout out to Jen, to Monica, to Alex, to Sam, to the other podcast, AJ Yawn,
big ups AJ.
Alan, the cybersecurity marketing podcast. Like there's so many people there that it was just like, wow, this is what I've been missing, again, being that lone wolf you see back there, and then coming in and it was just like, we got it, boom, Davin is ready to go, and it's just like, oh this is nice. So shout out to all of them, and again, shout out to Delisha, and let's see, and I see Ozzy's in here. Ozzy, shout out to her, she's just awesome too. So if there aren't any other questions while I am scrolling, so we're gonna go. So going what? Wait, what was the mindset? I thought I just scrolled past it. No, thank you, Jen. Seriously. Let's see. Stats are my bread and butter. A downtrend gives a step back and see if something that is not working. Man, listen, my stats look like the crypto crash. Like my analytics, boy. Like it'd be like, oh, and the part that kills me is when you go into a show and you're like, this show gonna do numbers.
And that's where it bombs.
And it don't hit.
Yeah. That's where it bombs.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
It's like,
are you chasing the celebrity? And you get the big name person on, right? And you think, oh, that's the episode, and it does nothing for you, right? In terms of the numbers. Now,
right,
it will help you in terms of the credibility and the, leveling up, right, of the platform. But
Right.
just because you have a name brand that comes on does not mean that you go up in multiples, right? Listen, one of the things I'll touch on as we wrap up here on a stats piece, because I get on stage several times a year, starting to get back onto the physical stages. And if I get in a room, Davin, of 200, 300 people, my mind is blown, right? Because it's a lot of people. And I could be talking for 45 minutes and then 2 hours after, right? Because, and you think of 300 people in a room and how much impact you can impart. Yet you get stirred if only 300 people download a podcast.
That's different. I don't even see, and that's, I got to get to the audio part of the podcast, but I'm trying to get to 300 views consistent.
Right. But you get where I'm thinking more audio, right? Like I'm thinking more audio. It took me a while to even get to that place, right? And to get into the thousands and to get to, to move through those milestones. But the point I'm making is, if you're impacting someone and you're changing someone's life, right? If it's just one, I mean, it will still annoy you to no end, right? If you don't see the growth, it'll eat at you, right? Davin touched on imposter syndrome. It's gonna creep. It creeps on me every day, right? But I know how to kind of keep moving. But stop looking at the numbers and think of the person on the other side of this video or this audio or that post, or who you're working with, that the work you do is helping somebody, right? Process it from the angle of the value you're providing and the person you're serving, right? When I talk about mental health, the first time I did that was when I came back on the podcast and I got real. I published that episode at 5 a.m. At minutes to 6, Davin, somebody jumped into my LinkedIn DMs bawling because they needed that episode. They needed me to be vulnerable and talk about that journey so that they could go get a therapist and save their marriage and save their journey as a dad, right? There are people on this, what Layla affectionately calls my Paul of Fame. There are people on this wall behind me, right, who have interviewed. Some of these episodes are actionable today, but some of them that I've done, right, are going to impact generations to come. When I talk about estate planning and wealth gap, right, closing a wealth gap, and somebody says, Stephen, because of this episode, we went and found an attorney and we created an estate plan and a will, and now our kids are in a better place. Bro, that's going to impact generations long after I'm gone. Right? I don't need 1,000 people to have listened to that episode for it to be of value. That one brother that went with his wife to go get an estate plan made that episode all worth it. Right? Yeah. So stop dialing in to the stats, as hard as it is, right? Look at the people you're serving, not the number. The download isn't gonna cure cancer, right? But the person who's consuming that content, right, is where we want to focus. And the more you can help the person on the other, more you can identify who it is that's listening, watching, consuming, and continue to serve that person, then the money's gonna follow, the numbers are gonna go up, all the things that you want will come to you once you get clear about that.
There it is. Hey, listen. So thank you, sir, for joining. Just a quick recap again. So there will be no InfoSec Unplugged next week, but the following week I will be joined by none other than Charles Nuatu. Gonna have a conversation about his journey, being a board member for B-Sides, and just talking about his career journey and things like that. So make sure you tune in for that. And again, on June 9th, I can officially say that now. On June 9th, we are going to have our conversation, Bag Talk, how to get and secure the bag in tech. Steven, I wish I would have contacted you sooner, because we definitely could have had some of that estate planning, but there's going to be a really good crowd. I got some previous guests and some people who need to be on here and talking about, again, everything from 401k and investing, estate planning, cryptocurrency, even though we don't want to talk about cryptocurrency right now. It's a little painful to watch, but we're going to talk about it all, because again, there's other ways you can leverage this tech bag money to make it work for you. And like you said, the goal is to find that balance and to find that time. And I think if you eliminate the need for having to chase the money, to chase the check, to pay the bills, once you eliminate that, it will alleviate some of that stress and pressure that we have on ourselves, especially to be providers. So I think that's going to be a great conversation. Again, I will announce the panelists in the weeks to come. But everybody watching, this has been another episode of InfoSec Unplugged. I have been your host, Davin Jackson. It started off a little rocky. We were a little all over the place, but we got it. We got through it. Steven, thank you for joining, and thank you for sharing and just being so vulnerable and open. And we talked about it, and we said we was going to do it, and it was a good one for sure. And I thank you for all of that. Again, I'm pretty sure you told a lot of people what they needed to hear, including me. So thank you for all of that.
Appreciate you having me on, brother. Thank you so much.
Anytime. And like I said, I gotta wake up early one of these days and come on yours or join one of yours.
Come do a live stream with me.
Yes, absolutely. Say when, man. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you in 2 weeks. Everybody take care.